sometimes think that the bigger regrets in life are all those things that like I know I should have done. Those moments that I should have stepped out of faith, those moments that I should have been courageous, those moments that I should have walked in confidence, those moments that I should have stepped out, but instead I shrinked back in fear. Because it's not just the bad things that I've done, but rather it's the good things that I haven't done. See, every one of us in here, we will fall short and do something wrong. But the question is, which ones of us in here will actually stand firm and do something right?
That you're not afraid to recreate yourself, that you're not afraid to be adventurous, that you're not afraid to be back in one again, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is one again on the next level. 21 is one again on the next level. 51 is one again on the next level. And some people don't grow because they're not willing to give up the 10 to be one again.
The depth of your past is an indication of the height of your future. When construction workers are going to build a big skyscraper, they first have to dig down deep and lay a foundation. The taller the building, the deeper the foundation. You may have gone through or be in an unfair situation. A friend betrayed you, lost a loved one. Be easy to settle there and get discouraged. You may be low right now, but God's getting you in position to rise higher. There are new levels in front of you, new levels of joy, new levels of influence, new relationships, new opportunities right in your future.
And if you're not willing to give up the 10, you'll stay where you are for the prestige of having reached 10 and not willing to go back to 1 again. You failed to grow to what your capacity was meant to be because you don't want to be a sophomore once you've been a senior. You don't want to say, I don't know again. You don't want to do anything that's out of your comfort zone again. You don't want to go into the unfamiliar again, and you stop growing because you stop going. In order to keep growing, you have to keep going. And you cannot love the prestige of 10 to the degree that you fail to come to 11. 11 puts you in a room with 20s. And some people can't stand to be in a room with 20s once they have reached 10. They'd rather be a big fish in a small pond than to swim into a bigger stream and be surrounded by whales and sharks and all that kind of stuff. They like image more than reality.
You're going to need to step out in faith. You're going to need to put your foot in the water. You're going to have to maybe say goodbye to some stuff. Some of you have no idea what God would do for you, and the only way you're ever going to know is to step out and find out. You say, well, what does that mean? Well, I mean, let's just say that you hate your job. I mean, all you do is complain about it. You don't like it. You don't like the people. You don't like the work. And you've really got something else in your heart that you'd love to do. But you live in fear that if you give that up, you might not have anything. Yeah, see, walking by faith, living by faith, the just shall live by faith. That means everything is a step of faith. And sometimes it's comfortable and you've got all the details in place, but very rarely. Most of the time, if you're going to live by faith, if you want to really find out what God can do for you, you are going to have to, so to speak, take a chance.
And sometimes you're barely making any progress. Sometimes you're barely making any progress at all. And that tough situation is making you want to stop. And what you eventually learn is you can't stop. When you're going through tough situations, you got to take that next step. You got to keep moving forward. We're going through a pretty tough situation right now in a lot of different ways. Take that next step. Keep moving forward.
Because we get so distracted with stuff that we're never going to be remembered for. Stuff that we're never going to actually be celebrated for. The truth is that we want to come to the end of our life and we want to be able to declare, no, regrets. Yet what psychologists would tell us and what they would show us is that regret is probably the most common negative emotion that people experience. The moment you can say, if only, is the moment you step into regret. You ever found yourself doing this? If only I'd gotten that job. If only I hadn't gotten hurt. If only I'd gone to that school. If only I would have gotten that job. If only I would have married her. If only I wouldn't have married him. And we spend so much time trying to rewrite history that we never actually focus on the cards that we are dealt. So often it can be so counterproductive. Life is going to always have moments that there's opportunities for regret. And the feeling of regret is not the worst part. It's really what's the next thing you think about after you experience regret. Because regret will come. The question is, what do you do after that moment of regret? Because it really only becomes toxic when regret becomes habitual. See, I think what makes you and I different as human beings is that we have the ability to respond. You would call that responsibility. That you and I can choose and we can determine and define our reaction that yes, we will make mistakes, and yes, challenges will come, and yes, there will be these moments that we want to rewrite history. But I'm telling you tonight that if you'll choose your response, if you'll decide now that I'm going to react the right way, you can actually learn and grow from your moments and your mistakes.
I trust God. I lean on God. I trust God for wisdom. I trust God to show me what to do when I don't know what to do. I trust God for my deliverance. I trust God for my peace. I trust God for my healing more than I do the doctor. I trust God for my rest. I trust God to show me how to live life every day. I trust God that I'm not going to go crazy. I trust God that I won't be sick and end up dying before my time. I trust God that he'll protect me when I'm flying over the oceans of the world. I trust God. I lean on him because no man, no person, no system, no thing, no amount of money, none of that will be able to do you like God will. And I put my trust in him.
Begin today that you were born to do something great with your life. That you're extraordinary. Listen to me. That you're enough. That you're special. That you're favored, regardless of where you come from. But every day, some of us are killing ourselves with the shame we carry from something we've done, some humiliation, some fear. Every day that tells us we're not enough. We're not strong enough, pretty enough, smart enough, favored enough. That we're doomed, and we carry these guns in our head every day that shame us, that take our confidence from us, that steal our joy. You can put those things down in your life. You could decide today that you were born to do something great. You could decide today, just intentionally, to set this weapon down, whatever it is, something you're just not proud of that you've done. Set it down. Stop using it as a weapon against yourself and realize that happened for you and not to you.
Life is a menu. Whoever and whatever you order for your life is what's going to be delivered to the table. Who do I want and what do I want for my day? Most of us could find ourselves doing things because we have a guilty conscience. I've learned to compartmentalize. I've learned to take control of my minute, my hour, my day, my week, my month, and my year. How can you have control? You have control. If you already know what he's going to do to your day from that text message or that phone call, why don't you block him? Why are you giving this person emotional access to you? Why are you continuing to call him or her back? Do you have validation issues? Where you need the validation of all of these people around you. You got to be busy. You got to be in the mix. It makes you feel accepted. Because you're the loudest person in the club doesn't mean that you're really having fun. Because you're pulling up in the nicest car doesn't mean you actually have gas money.
Here's what's important. Debate all major issues. Some issues are, sort of obvious. Say, well, I can see the positive side of that right away. But some need discussion. Now, here's what's valuable, to discuss some things with someone else. Debate back and forth. So here's what's important, is to debate the major life issues. In good health today, the great debate is on, which has given us advances we've never had before. So here's what you must be, though, in the debate. A good student. Open to learning, defending and learning. It's important not just to defend. Defend and learn. Defend your point of view until it's sort of obvious that you've got to give some ground here because you haven't done your research. But this debating is important. We have to debate the health issues. One health book says, do this, you'll live forever. The second health book says, if you do that, you'll die young. So here's what we should do. Make the note. Be a student, not a follower. Every day in 1,000 different ways, we are trying to improve ourselves by learning how to do things. We spend a lifetime gathering knowledge in classrooms, in textbooks, in experiences. Now, if knowledge is power, if knowledge is the forerunner to success, then why do we fall short of our objectives? Why, in spite of all our knowledge and in spite of our collective experiences, do we find ourselves aimlessly wandering, settling for a life of existence rather than a life of substance? While there may be many answers to this question, the fundamental answer is the absence of discipline. Applying all that we know. That's the key word, discipline, self-discipline. We might add one more word here, consistent. Consistent self-discipline. Better than knowledge is applied knowledge. And once we've applied our knowledge, we must study the results of that process. Apply our knowledge, study the results. Refine our approach. Finally, by trying and observing and refining and trying again, our knowledge will inevitably produce worthy results, admirable results. And with the joy and results of our efforts, we continue to apply, to learn, to observe, to fuel our ambition with the positive reinforcement of continued progress. Pretty soon, we'll find that we're swept into a spiral of achievement, a vertical rise to success.
Discipline is the root of all good qualities, but you have to absolutely apply it to things outside of just waking up early. It's everything. It's working out every day, making yourself stronger and faster and more flexible and healthier. Discipline is eating the right foods to fuel your system. It's about disciplining your emotions so you can make good decisions. It's about having the discipline to control your ego so your ego doesn't get out of hand and control you. It's about treating people the way you would want to be treated. And doing the tasks that you don't necessarily want to do, but that you know will help you or help your team. It's about facing your fears. It takes discipline to face your fears so you can conquer them. And that's what discipline is. Discipline means taking the hard road, the uphill road, to do what's right for yourself and for other people. It's so often the easy path that calls to us to be weak for that moment, to break down for that moment, to give in to the desire and the short-term gratification. But the discipline will not allow that. The discipline calls for strength and fortitude and will. It won't accept weakness. It won't tolerate another breakdown. The discipline can seem like it's your worst enemy. But the reality is, discipline is your best friend. It will take care of you like nothing else can. And it'll put you on that path. The path to strength and health and intelligence and happiness. And most importantly, it'll put you on that path to freedom.
Simple part that most people don't understand is that every thought we think and every word we speak is creating our future. It's as though our thoughts go out into the universe and are accepted and brought back to us as experience. Now that is a very simple thing, but most people don't get it. They don't understand it. They've never heard it before, and they think it's ridiculous. But if you can really accept the fact that every time you think a thought and every time you speak a word, you are literally painting your future, making your dinner, whatever you want to call it. You are creating, and you're creating your own life. And this is simple, but it's not easy to accept. But once you accept it, then you can start deliberately creating what you want in your life. And you begin to be aware of what you don't want in your life and how you are contributing to it. Now, I think this has been around forever, but for some reason in the last 20 years, the universe has wanted this to go out among all the people, or all the people that are ready for it. See, most of us just think, and we don't pay any attention to what we're thinking. We're just doing it. But that's something you need to train yourself to do, to begin to train yourself to be aware of what you're thinking. And one of the ways to do that is to periodically say to yourself, what am I thinking? Would I like this thought to create my life? Would I like to have the experience that this thought could bring to me? Now, it takes a while to do that, but even if we could begin on the smallest level to be aware of our thinking, we can start to make changes.
I love talking about discipline because I think so many people, that word has such a negative connotation around it, right? It just sounds bad. Discipline, like you're going to feel pain or someone's going to hurt you or you're in trouble for something. And I want to start having you think about it in a really positive way, because discipline equals freedom. 100%. It has been the theme throughout my entire life, is how if you have structured discipline in your life and you start doing the things that you don't want to do, especially if you do them first, you are absolutely going to free yourself of all of the different pain that comes with not getting your goals accomplished, that comes with not taking care of yourself, that comes with living with regret. So before, way back in my early 20s, and even through my mid 20s, when I would, I was trying to create habits around maybe eating right, or habits around working out. And let me tell you, habits around getting stuff done. I literally in my head told myself all the time, my mantra at the time was, I never finish anything. So what do you think I did? I finished nothing, because that's literally how I talk to myself. Well, I never finished anything. This is another thing I didn't finish. So I had to switch that mantra around, and it was also realizing how important discipline was and how much freedom came with it. And I spent a lot of time living in agony in my head, and I was tired all the time because I spent more of my time in my brain thinking about what I didn't do and arguing with myself all day long. Am I going to go to the gym? I don't want to go to the gym. You should go to the gym. Why aren't you going to the gym? You know you need to go to the gym. You're never going to get to your goals. It's like I was drained just because of the conversations I was having with myself. If I would have just gotten disciplined, committed to a time, or knew I was going, I could have focused on all of the other good things that were happening in my life and just knew this is what I'm doing. It's like just saying, okay, well, here's what I'm doing so I can forget about it until the moment that it comes, and I'm going to do it because I'm committing, truly committing to discipline, and how freeing that is. And when I started getting a great discipline habit around all of the things that I wanted to do, I started to notice how much more free I felt, how much less anxiety I felt, how when my head hit the pillow, I felt proud instead of another day just went by that I'm further away from my goals and I have regret and I'm feeling my life race by me, right? Those are all feelings that do not feel good, that discipline can free you from.
Do you plan your day much, or your time generally? Does this lead to higher productivity? Yes, I plan my day obsessively. My calendar is always absolutely full, and often weeks in advance. And I plan in the morning, especially when I'm on top of things. And I plan each hour, and I probably plan each minute. And yes, it leads to way higher productivity. You decide what your goals are going to be. You place them in the calendar. Use the calendar as your friend, Because what you want to do with the calendar is design a day that you want to have. or a day that would be good for you. And a day that would be good for you is one that you're when you end the day, you feel that you've moved yourself ahead towards your valued goals, and that you've kept chaos under control, and that enables you to sleep soundly and with a good conscience, and to know that the next day is going to be at least not worse than that day. Planning is unbelievably useful. And again, I don't want to sound like a broken record with regards to the future authoring program, but it really is useful. You need to figure out what it is that you're aiming at and why, and then you need to figure out how you're going to break that down over the months and the weeks and the days. But I would approach your calendar like it's your best friend. You think, okay, I'm going to design a week, man, that I really want to have. And that means you can schedule in leisure and all the things that you want to do, which you absolutely should do. And it's also quite fun to give yourself minimal time to do something complicated, because it's quite challenging to see if you can do far more than you thought in far less time. And so that's a fun game. And the other thing you can do is, like, if you're avoiding something, you could schedule in 5 minutes of it. Say, well, like if you're avoiding looking at some bills because you're afraid of them, your first step might be to schedule in 5 minutes where you just look at the bill. You don't do anything else. And, you might be able to entice yourself into doing that. But I would say learning to plan is unbelievably useful, to schedule your time, because that's your life, but schedule the life you want. That means you have to schedule your responsibilities obviously, because responsibilities are those things that ruin your life if you don't fulfill them.
That's what inner engineering is about. If your context shifts from your psychological and physiological process to the life process that you are, everything has changed. Because we must understand this. As we sit here, this is my body, that's your body, this is my mind, that's your mind. But there's no such thing as this is my life and that's your life. This is a living cosmos. Everybody is free to capture as much as they want. If you capture substantial amount of life, your very presence will become a significant life. Otherwise, you will become a mediocre life. This is the important thing. It's not the knowledge you gather in your head, it's not the muscle that you gather in your body, it's the life. How much of a life are you? This will make you significant in your very presence. If world gives us an opportunity, we'll do something impactful. Otherwise, we are just a significant presence. A huge oak tree standing outside, it is not trying to create any impact, it is just impactful. If you go under its shade, you'll feel it, otherwise also it's impactful. Most people notice it only when it's gone. When I was 25 years of age, when suddenly things burst forth within me, and I realized if I sit here without messing myself, naturally I'm bursting with ecstasy and every cell in my body drips ecstasy. I thought initially I'm going off my rocker. Then again and again when I saw over a period of 6 to 8 weeks, when I saw if I just close my eyes, I just burst into ecstatic states. So I clearly realized, if I don't mess with my physiological and psychological process, ecstasy is the only way to be. Nothing to be done, you don't have to do anything. When I realized this, I sat down and actually planned. On that day, the world's population was 5.6 billion people. I made a plan in 2.5 years' time that I will make the world ecstatic. No fool like a young fool, Now, it's been 37 years, not 2.5 years. Well, people say we have touched over 500 million people or so. Don't say whoa, you don't woe my failures.
Yeah, I guess.
Because my idea of humanity is 7.6 billion people. 500 million people, time going away, I'm condemned to die a failure, but I'm a blissful failure, all right? So, what we need is just this. Do you want to live in a beautiful world means what? Beautiful does not mean just a beautiful view of the ocean or something else. Beautiful means human life here is pleasant within every human being. The question is not about what I wear, what I drive, where I live, but how I am within myself. See, what we can do in the world is a question of times. In which time of history we exist, accordingly we do things. If we were here 100 years ago, we wouldn't be recording all this stuff, all right? We would be doing something different. But human experience is constant. Whichever generation you are, you can either be blissed out or misery. Always, forever. It has been so and it will be so. So, what we can do in the world is subject to many realities of the times.
Passion put us over the edge. Passion set us apart. Passion made the difference. Can I tell you something? When you're passionate about something, it isn't reasonable, but you do it anyway. When you're passionate about something, it's not possible, but you do it anyway. When you're passionate about something, passion will take you where nothing else will ever take you. It'll give you that decided edge. It'll help you to stand out. Wow. Now, let me just say something about purpose and dreams and finding your purpose. I wrote a book a few years ago called Put Your Dream to the Test. And basically it's questions you need to ask yourself to make sure if your dream is a valid dream. And I would go around and I would teach off of this Put Your Dreams to the Test lesson, and all of a sudden it hit me that there were a lot of people that didn't have their own dream. I had assumed when I wrote the book that everybody had a dream. I've had a dream. And all of a sudden I realized there were people coming to me and said, well, I don't have a dream for myself. And I could see that they were a little lost, and all of a sudden it hit me. And this is what I want you to understand. You may not have your own big dream for you, but it is probably because God has someone for you that He wants you to join and help them fulfill their dream. You see, this is a biblical principle. Not everybody has their own purpose and own personal dream. Look at the fishermen down at the Sea of Galilee when Jesus walked into their life and said, hey guys, follow me. I'm going to make you fishers of men. What did He do? When He walked into their life, He gave them a dream that they didn't have. He gave them a cause that they didn't have. He gave them a person to hang around with that they didn't have. And let me tell you something. Sometimes God has people literally designed to come along and complement each other so that the dream can be filled. Teamwork makes the dream work. I've seen it happen many, many times. I can tell you right now, for many of you, it's happened in this church. You found this church, you found this place of grace, this oasis, this place of vision, this place that is making a difference, this dynamic place. And all of a sudden you started pouring your gifts in here, your spiritual gifts, your financial gifts. You just kind of lost yourself and just dove into this congregation. And now you're seeing amazing things happening. And it's an absolute fact that some of you, your place, your purpose, your dream is to come alongside, complement, add value, and do something for someone that they cannot do for themselves. Every great person is great because people have come around and supported that dream and supported that vision. Look at Jonathan and David in the Old Testament. Jonathan rightfully was going to be the next king. His father Saul was the king. He was the rightful heir, but when he saw David, he said, no, David is the anointed one. I'm going to back up. I'm not going to be the king of Israel. I'm going to support David. I'm going to let him be the king of Israel. I'm going to be a king maker. And Jonathan understood that whole possibility of putting his purpose into the purpose of someone else.
Now, obviously, when you believe that something is the case, it implies that you don't know. You have no evidence for it, but you believe it. So you wouldn't say, I believe in this table. I don't have to, because I know it's here. Well, we call it table, who knows what it is on other levels. But you don't need to say, I believe in this flower. I know there's a flower here, or at least that's on this level of perception. So belief implies you don't really know, but you would like something to be, and that's interesting. In religions, those things are regarded as very important. You believe in certain things that have been transmitted to you from generation to generation, that are in the books. And then you have a certain belief structure, and since you're not free of ego, it becomes incorporated into your sense of identity, the collective identity of we, the believers in these particular kinds of stories. There is in the English language, there's the word belief, and there's also the word faith. And they're quite different, but sometimes people don't realize the difference. In some languages, there's no difference between these two words. In Spanish, you have fe, which is faith, and creencia, which is belief. But if I remember correctly, in German, you only have one word for faith or belief, and that would be Glaube or Glauben. But they're very different. Faith is, a true meaning of faith is a deep sense of trust. And what you are and you have that deep sense of trust because you are connected with the essence of who you are, which is one with the essence of the universe. I forgot to mention that before. You are connected with the essence of who you are, that's the vertical dimension. You realize yourself as consciousness. And that consciousness is not yours, although I sometimes call it your consciousness. It's not yours. Because if I said my consciousness, I would have created a duality. There would have been me, an entity who has consciousness.
For every struggle in your life, there is a strategy. They didn't get it either. I'm gonna try y'all. For every struggle in your life, there is a strategy. They got it.
On the outside, people don't look broken. You don't see bruises, and you don't see scratches, and you don't see scrapes, and people don't walk around in a big cast, and so you can't tell with the naked eye. The problem is that there's a malfunction on the inside. So many times, depression, what it feels like is this, that I'm so afraid to share what's going on the inside because I'm afraid it might destroy you. So what I do is I bury it on the inside of myself only to destroy myself.
When it comes to things that really matter in life, I think all of us know that better is a perspective. You know why you think some people's lives are better than yours? Because you see the part that they show you. They might have a better house, but I wonder what goes on inside. And see, you don't know which one's better.
When something is just beginning to bud, there is also trouble rising up right beside it. When the wheat came up, the tear came up with it. Not because the wheat wasn't real, but because it was. It came up at the same time. Life is crazy.
If you live long enough, you will find out that some of the people you spent so much of your time envying were secretly miserable.
There is something in you that will deliver you, but in order to produce it, you have to go through the dark place.
You will grow through what you go through. You will grow through what you go through.
We got to go backwards to get better. We got to go all the way back to get better. I have to be comfortable in my life to accept that sometimes loss is the way to gain. To know that sometimes the most painful moments are the most purposeful moments. I have to be comfortable in my life to stop comparing myself so much with people who are not meant to be the standard anyway.
Now, I don't know what you're facing today, but I know this, everybody in this room is facing something. If it ain't nothing but life, If you don't have nothing to fight but life, if everybody likes you and you're just as beautiful as you can be and as healthy as an Olympian, if you deal with nothing but life, life will try you to the breaking point. It can be the best time in your life and the worst time all at the same time.
You can either stand up and take that small step forward. You don't have to know where you're going. You don't have to have the perfect plan. You don't have to know what tomorrow holds. But you can either get up and take that small step, or you're going to sit at that kitchen counter for the rest of your life. And now, years later, I pushed through those hard times and I realized, and I truly believe in now, that the smallest of steps eventually completes the grandest of journeys.
You can have what other people can't have. You can go where other people can't go. You can ask what other people can't ask for, because you are not a whosoever. Quit acting like a whosoever. Quit asking like a whosoever. Quit asking like you don't have a right to go in boldly and ask. You are a chosen generation. You are a peculiar people. Say, I'm not a whosoever.
Our problems do not overshadow our purpose. Our weaknesses do not discount our work, and our deficiencies definitely do not delay our destiny. We have to learn how to work our weakness. You gotta work your weakness, because all of us to some degree have a thorn in our flesh. We all have gaps, we all have deficiency, we've all made mistakes, we've all got these things that feel like a thorn in our flesh.
If you wish to be successful, study success. If you wish to be happy, study happiness. Happiness is not an accident. It is first a study and then a practice. You would naturally assume that most people would make a careful study of them. Why they do not is yet another example of those aspects of life that fall into the category of mysteries of the mind. Remember, major keys to your better future are going to be ideas and information.
Open people like to live on the periphery of boundaries, and they like to break boundaries between things, because interesting things happen when you think a different way, when you think outside of the box, so to speak. That's what open people do. They always think outside of the box, no matter what box you put them in. You know, and sometimes you meet people that are so open that they're completely disorganized. Their thought process is almost completely associational, like a dreamer. They just jump from one thing to another, and they're very interesting to talk to. It's very hard for those people to get their lives together, because they're interested in absolutely everything, and their attention just flits all over the place.
If we have any lack, it is not because we lack money or opportunity or resources. It is because we lack ideas that have taken form from information. If you search, you will find. So that is the way to discover ideas and life-changing information. Search. In order to find, you must search. You must go and engage in conversations with people of substance. You must go looking, go searching. Rarely does a good idea interrupt you. And as you make a diligent search, you will find just the ideas you need.
Everybody's been through some shit in their childhood. Alcohol and drug abuse, family members, grandmother, family dying, and it all sets you back. It's a setback for a setup to get to the ultimate blessings.
And I came to speak to somebody today who has some triumph in your life, but you've also got some trouble. You've got some joy in your life, but you've also got some sadness. Until you have had the taste of finishing, you will not respect yourself. Until you follow through, until something is done, tears and struggles and pain, and you go through it anyway, and you show up, and you continue to fight on, no matter the circumstances.
So why not reach down inside of you and come up with some more of those remarkable human gifts? They're there waiting to be discovered and employed. And I challenge you to do that, because you can change. If you don't like how it is for you, change it. If it isn't enough, change it. If it doesn't suit you,
change it. And I challenge you to do all that because you can change. See, you don't ever have to be the same after today, only by choice. Now for the process of change, just a philosophical pronouncement won't do. It takes more than that, and it takes more than enthusiasm. You can get all excited about lifting 200 pounds until you get to the gym. Then you need a new excitement, and the new excitement is discipline. Discipline, the major step to human progress. If there is one thing to get excited about, this is it. Get excited about your ability to make yourself do the necessary things to get a desired result. That's true excitement. Really making personal changes calls for 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. Wishing we could change is a beginning, but now wish must be translated into activity, and inspiration and affirmation must lead to discipline. We can affirm that we are going to change, but we must now form new habits and develop new disciplines for the affirmation to come true. We can look at developing ourselves spiritually, physically, and mentally. With respect to our spiritual development, this may be a major or a minor issue for you depending on your values and your goals. Come to your own decisions as to what it will take to nourish your spiritual nature. Next, let's look at physical development. The body and the mind work together and depend on each other, so they both need attention. Treat your body like a temple. So just put it in your notes. Body like temple. Not a bad suggestion. Now, in taking care of the physical, we must learn to be conscious of ourselves, but not self-conscious. We need to be aware of our physical appearance, our physical well-being, but not to the point of being self-conscious. But some people devote too much of their day to physical appearance. Physical appearance is going to have something to do with your future, your well-being, so do spend some time on physical appearance. How we appear to other people does make a difference in terms of our acceptance and our ability to function and do well in the marketplace.
If you do have a pattern, realize that any pattern you have, including self-sabotage, still comes back to one thing. Human beings, no matter what we're doing, including sabotaging ourselves, we do it for a positive intent. If it clearly is a pattern where you are subconsciously sabotaging yourself, screwing things up, hey, get excited. Don't get upset. Say, hey, look, my brain is doing what it does best.
Personal development, how important. Remember, the major key to your better future is you. That's a sentence with a lot of value. The major key to your better future is you. For a share of my life, I didn't understand the importance of that phrase. I used to wonder why two people could work for the same company and one make twice as much money. Wouldn't that be a puzzle? I know there are many ways to do well, but in this narrow area called compensation, what is the difference? I thought time makes some of the difference. Some people do better because they have more time. Now, that's got to be dumb, right? You can't get someone else's time. There isn't any more time. Where would you find any? Hey, when the clock strikes 12 midnight, that's about it. It's over. There isn't any more time. If you insist on finding more than 24 hours a day, they will come and take you away. You see, what you become is far more important than what you get. However, it is also true that what you become directly influences what you get. Most of what we have attracted by the person we have become. So here's the great challenge of life. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. That is the great focus of attention for life change. Now, on the other side of the coin, it reads, unless you change how you are, you'll always have what you've got. I've discovered that income does not usually exceed personal development. Sometimes income takes a lucky jump, but unless you keep growing out where it is, it will usually come back where you are. Life has strange ways. A very rich man once said, if you took all the money in the world and divided it equally among everybody, it would soon all be back in the same pockets. I guess it is hard to keep what you haven't attracted by your own personal development. It's not what we can do that's in question. What we can do is fantastic. What we can do is unbelievable. What we can do, it's what we settle for that's disappointing. What we become is what leads to all the good things. And the habits we form, habits of mind, attitude, and behavior, are a dominant part of what we are becoming. Now, I understand as well as anyone that forming new habits doesn't come easy. But new habits will come when we change, but rather by changing small pieces and parts at a time. I think that's how most of us change. We just keep nudging ourselves in the right direction, forming 1 or 2 new habits at a time, little by little, until finally we've made the turn. And this is where the good life comes from, those personal changes. There's nothing you can do with the seasons, but there's everything you can do with yourself. Wish for your own attitudes, strength, and capabilities to change in order to handle the winters. Time, we will probably use them all, unless somebody finally comes along and blows all those excuses apart to make us come face to face with the real reasons for our current dilemma. Until that time, we will probably use another million excuses to prevent ourselves from having $1 million. Here's one of the major questions I'll pose to you during this program. What are you going to do starting today that will make a difference in how your life works out? See, if you don't do something starting today that will make a difference, guess what? It's going to be the same. And you can guess what the next 5 years are going to be like. Just look at the last 5. Now here's another key question. What can you do starting today that will make a difference? That's a good question. What can you do? What can you do with economic chaos? What can you do with massive disappointment when it's all gone wrong? What can you do when it won't work, when you've run out of money, when you don't feel well, and it's all gone sour? What can you do? Well, let me give you the broad answer first. Here's what you can do. You can do the most remarkable things, no matter what happens. Hey, people can do incredible things, unbelievable things. A man can do the most amazing things with the most impossible circumstances. A woman can do the most remarkable things with the most disastrous circumstances. Hey, I found out kids can do remarkable things. That is, if they have remarkable things to do. I also found out if they don't have remarkable things to do, there's no telling what they'll do. For things to change for you, you've got to change, no matter what successes you've already achieved. Otherwise, it isn't going to change for you. I sure hope things will change. That seemed to be my only hope. If it wasn't going to change, I was in serious trouble. Then I found out it wasn't going to change, and I was in serious trouble. Hey, remember, it isn't going to change. Not long ago, I did a seminar for a group of oil company executives during their convention in Honolulu. Sitting around this conference table, one of them asked, "Mr. Rohn, you know some important people around the world. What do you think the next 10 years are going to be like?" I said, "Gentlemen, I do know the right people. I can tell you." So they all listened very carefully. I said, "Gentlemen, based on the people I know and from the best of my own experience, I've concluded that in the coming 10 years, it's going to be about like it's always been.